Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League at the time of recording is currently in early access, and I paid my own money to check this game out. This is not a full review, but due to the controversy surrounding this game, a lot of people want to know, is it worth it to spend their hard-earned money on it? So hopefully this video will help you guys make a better educated decision. Sorry y'all, I'm recovering from a flu, but I still wanted to get this video out for you guys, so be sure to give me a like. Hell, throw in a subscribe too. But anyways, like I said, this game has been plagued with controversies during production all the way up to early access. So expect me to touch a little bit on that as we discuss. With that said, this your boy Cash. Let's get into the video, but before we do, cue that intro. So before we get into anything, I just wanted to let you know that most of the footage that we're about to see is from my live stream over on twitch.tv/cashcrow, and the gameplay was straight from my Xbox Series X if you're into that sort of thing. Now let's talk about graphics, which I thought was great until I saw comparison videos from Rocksteady's previous installment, which was Arkham Knight. And man, you can tell the difference. If you pulled up both games and asked the uninitiated which game came first, I'm pretty sure they would tell you Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League did. It's definitely a step back in the quality of what we expect from Rocksteady. And like I said, it was fine to me, but if you're a graphics knob, you're gonna see the difference. As far as challenge is concerned, I was playing on the hardest difficulty, but I never really felt like I was getting a challenge, unless you count enemies being more bullet spongy. Also, the gameplay became repetitive very quickly. After a while, all the missions just start to blend together in my mind. It's either an extraction mission, defend the insert thing here, or waves of enemies being hurled at you. However, there was one instance that I considered a standout moment, and that was when the squad was up against the Dark Knight. And bro, it's almost as if they wanted you to experience the wrath you dished out as the Dark Knight during the Arkham series. Granted, I think it could have been a lot better, but it was still a lot of fun. The melee was disappointing to say the least, especially when you take into account that this is Rocksteady we're talking about. These guys pioneered the free-flow combat, so much so that even Spider-Man copied some of the formula, bro. It felt like they were trying to do something like Arkham's free-flow system, but it just didn't work for me. Now, some would say that this isn't the same studio from 9 years ago because the co-founders left during the game's development and recently formed their new studio, so the DNA is not quite the same, which I'm inclined to agree. This isn't what I expect from a Rocksteady game, not even in the slightest. Hit or misses from prestige game studios are nothing new in the world of gaming, most notably Bethesda's Redfall. Now, while this isn't necessarily on the level of Redfall, it's still pretty bad. Now, I never encountered server issues, but they got so bad to the point that the studio had to give out $20 worth of in-game currency to early access players for the downtime of servers. Which brings me to my next issue with this game. It's always online, which means if the game servers are down, there's no way for you to play your game offline. At least not for right now, which I found a little strange that a game that has a story mode that allows you to play by yourself won't allow you to play offline by yourself. So it's entirely dependent on a live service model, which was one of the major issues surrounding this game, it potentially being a live service game. And I'm here to report it is in fact a live service game. Now, while that's not inherently a bad thing, the issue is since the announcement of the game, it felt like Rocksteady was trying their hardest to deny the claim, which was pretty irrefutable after images leak of the loadout screen. This was made even more apparent now that some players have already beaten the game during early access and says that the campaign is roughly 8 to 10 hours. That is incredibly short. That also means all the focus will be spent on online multiplayer. That's no different from what we get from Call of Duty every year, and it's also very similar to what we saw in the Avengers game. To go even further, the live service aspect felt very forced. Getting guns and upgrading them felt very cumbersome, and in some cases it felt like they were relying on you having prior knowledge to playing games like this. They didn't stick the landing. Now, can we please stop making open world games for the sake of making open world games? I would have been perfectly fine had this been a level-based game design. The open world is tedious, it feels mostly empty, and whenever I had an objective, I usually skip on-the-ground enemy engagement and head straight to the objective because I couldn't be bothered with what felt like another 10 minutes of brainless point-and-shoot schlockfest. Rocksteady has a proven track record of crafting great story-driven narratives, so I expected a great story-driven narrative. Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League is not that. They tried their hardest recently to win fans over during a recent Q&A, stating, "We don't want the game to feel like a life commitment or be a game where you have to sacrifice a lot to see all the content on offer, or feel like you're not making good progress in the game if you can't play hundreds of hours. We want this game to be generous both with your time with all the features we have to offer." But I don't know, bro. At the end of the day, this is still a live service game, and I like my narratives to have some kind of finality to it. I feel like this game doesn't really know what it wants to be. It's trying to thread the needle of storytelling and a games as a service game, but I don't think those things last. Some will be quick to point out some outliers, but those are the exception, not the rule. The story was serviceable at best. It just threw you in with no real introduction. I was looking for something to set up the stakes, get me invested in the characters and the story, but we never got that. This required more heavy lifting on the audience part because it was relying on the audience having existing knowledge on the IP, which is not very good storytelling in my opinion. Plus, the game gets really dark. It is called Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, so be forewarned. But honestly, I would like to know why they felt the need to tell this particular story in the Arkham universe of all places. You made 3 games that people absolutely love, me being one of them, so for this to be the end of the universe doesn't sit well with me. Listen, I'm all for risky storytelling, but this went a little too far off the deep end for me, as far as established universe is concerned. This in itself could have been an Elseworld story, not tied to any established lore, and I would have been fine with that. Take for example Injustice. It was okay with all the insane shit that happened because it was already established in that universe. I've seen stuff online that I won't spoil, but I get why fans are upset. You know what? I feel like I've been mostly railing on this game since I started this video, but there are some bright spots. The banter between the team was fun. Not all the jokes landed, but a fair bit did for me. The voice acting was also pretty damn good. I mean, you can't really go wrong with Tara Strong. Apologies for the rhyme. Now, while I said the game was also repetitive, some of the gunplay was actually pretty damn fun. It reminded me of Gears with the quick reload feature, which was also pretty cool. When it comes to ease of use, I think the game is very character specific. I found that Deadshot was the easiest to pick up and play with right away. His jetpack skill made the gunplay a lot more over the top. You can move to high ground for some sniper action or swoop down and hail your enemies in a barrage of bullets from the sky. And his melee was basically more guns. He utilizes his arm cannon for some short range bursts, which is also pretty cool. So I would say he's my favorite character by far to use. King Shark came second with his Hulk-like abilities, high jumps, air dashes, and ground pounces to send enemies flying. And I put Harley and Captain Boomerang in the same category because there wasn't really much to them. Well, to me anyways. They felt boring. Harley was basically Spider-Man when it came to traversal, and Boomer was a pseudo teleport, none of which I found very interesting. That's not to say they were bad, it just didn't appeal to me. The game does a very poor job at explaining health and ammo regeneration. If I'm wrong, let me know in the comments, but I found myself asking this question: how do I get life? How do I get ammo? Until I actually kind of just figured it out. It was almost an assumption that we should already know how this game was. Again, being dependent on players' knowledge. Ultimately, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League had some bright spots, but the problems far outweigh the good. I don't doubt that some people could possibly find enjoyment out of this game, especially when playing with friends, which I haven't had the opportunity to do yet, so maybe some of my thoughts may change. But as it stands, I can't recommend anyone buying this game full price. Wait for the bargain bin or wait by the end of the year when it gets added to Game Pass, just like Gotham Knights did. So there you have it. Have you played Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League? Do you agree with my thoughts? Comment below and let me know. Also, if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing and hitting that notification bell. With that said, thank you for watching. It's been your boy Cash, and like always, play on, player. Peace. Blood. All right. That's a cool ass entrance.